Welcome everyone to episode 2, not 4, but 2 of Gimme an Alia podcast. I know it's been a minute. Life was lifing, things were happening, but you know what? I'm settled. I'm back, and I have a beautiful, amazing, special guest. You may know her from her podcast, Maps and Graps. You may know her from Body Slam. You may know her from the Shadow Realm, from another place we don't want to talk about. But or on Twitter, you may be one of those people in her mentions bothering her, but you still know her. This is my girl Lyric. How are you?
Hi, I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having
I'm
me.
s- I'm so excited that you're here. I had a list and I was like, let me talk to Lyric. It's been a minute. Uh, lots of things are happening in wrestling.
Lots.
A lot. But you know what, guys? Over here on Giving Alia, we're gonna just be positive and fun and talk about the things we like and not
hmm
the things we don't. So we're just here to have a good time. And I'm here to hang out with you and kind of get to know you better. So let's take it back. Because we know you, what you did this year. You're still in your first year, which is wild.
Crazy, yeah. Coming up on a full year now. Yeah.
That's crazy. But let's before I get into your rookie year, let's take it back to how you found wrestling. Cuz that's a good story, right? Like everyone
Yeah.
knows what they did.
So I got into wrestling on October 9th, 2006. I remember it down to the details. So what had happened was in my hometown, there was a Monday Night Raw, which happened to be the Raw family reunion episode. So all the legends came back. That was back when it was a special 3 hour edition. That was before it was still
Yeah.
regular 2 hours.
When we liked it being 3 hours like, ooh.
Exactly. I was in like second grade, and some family members had gone to the show. I was offered a ticket. I was like, no, wrestling isn't my thing. And so I remember I tuned in just to see if I could like spot them in the crowd, but
Mhm.
I end up just hooked. And so, like, it's funny enough, I become a bigger fan than the people who actually went.
Oh, they
And
don't care anymore?
from then on, I am just obsessed. And I find myself on online World of Wrestling, trying to like learn all this stuff. I'm begging for pay-per-views. Um, I used to go to CVS and at the markdown magazines that they would have at the end of the month, they would have them in a shopping cart, like all marked down. And so
Oh.
I always pull out like the WWE magazine ones. They had posters inside.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that's basically how I got started. And then it just continued to evolve as I got older. And like when I got older, I started getting into other forms of wrestling and like not really liking the stuff that I once liked so much. And yeah, and now I watch a little bit of everything, and I'm 10 times more committed. But
You're
yeah,
deep.
I'm like, what is this? This is 17, almost 18 years as a fan coming this year. So
That's
yeah.
yeah. Just gets you hooked. Like, do you remember like yeah, you said you were looking at your like for your family, but who do you remember on that show that first you were like, "Wait a minute. This person's cool," or what's this about? Like, do you remember who
John
that was?
Cena. John Cena was definitely one of those people.
A 2006 John Cena? Oh wow.
Yeah, this was the time when they were. So it was right before Cyber Sunday, and they were doing that three-way angle. So it was John Cena was the WWE champion, and King Booker was the world
Yes,
heavyweight
King
champion.
Booker.
Yeah, and then Big Show was the ECW world champion, and so they were planning to do this triple threat at Cyber Sunday. So like that was my entry point at the time. Yeah,
Cyber. You know what? Honestly, bring back Cyber Sunday.
I think that it's the perfect time. Like, and this is for all companies, especially with
Yeah,
social media now. It's a perfect time to do something like Cyber Sunday, Taboo Tuesday, that type of vibe. I
I
mean,
loved those shows. Those were fun.
exactly,
Like you could just go on Twitter, you could do an Instagram poll. Like it's super easy now.
exactly.
Although they
But
were kind of ahead with the Cyber Sunday,
it
Taboo
was
Tuesday.
the concept was definitely ahead of its time for sure.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It was silly. It was fun. But yeah, somebody. I mean, TNA's close. They have, the digital championship, but
Yeah, they're close. I think like somebody just needs to workshop the idea, and
mhm.
also like creative wise, like I think that companies have to be willing to give the fans what they want. Like if they
Mhm.
vote for it, like even if it's not the thing that you were pushing for, like I think
Yeah.
like companies have to be fluid enough to actually give the fans what they want. Like
Mhm.
there's no reason to rig the system. So I think it's a
Yeah.
great concept. Just needs to be workshopped a little bit.
Yeah. Figure it out. I think it'd be fun. Yeah. I mean, even like heck, a forbidden door could be fun for it with, a fan voting situation.
Please
I'm
don't
just
tempt me with
saying. I'm just saying, Tony.
please don't tempt me with a good time. Please don't tempt me with a good time because I will be
I'm just
seeing.
saying.
I will be
Tony
seeing.
Khan, he knows us. He knows where we are. We have good ideas. I say this all the time. You know where to find me, Tony.
Cut the
I'm
check.
here. Yes, you still owe me money. Uh, was there ever a time like I'm not one of those people, but I know plenty of people who watch wrestling when you're a kid. You grow up and then you're like, I'm too cool for this. I'm out. Was there like ever a time that you kind of stopped watching wrestling?
Yeah. And it wasn't because I felt like I was too cool for it. It was more so once I got to high school and I got to college specifically, I was such an overachiever. So I was doing everything: marching band, student council, National Honor Society. Then when I get to college, like I'm in student government. I'm interning with the athletics department. I'm doing TED Talks. Like I'm doing like going to different stuff, traveling. And so I just really didn't have time. Like at the time, like Mondays and Friday nights, I'm gone. Like,
Hmm.
especially like in college,
Oh
most
yeah.
nights I was getting home until like midnight. And then like in high school during band season, I'm in practice late at night, Monday through Thursday, games on Fridays, competitions on Saturdays and Sundays. So like I'm literally never home. So there was some things that kept me interested. So like for example, like Black and Gold NXT was my jam. I loved, especially like when Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné came in. Like I was watching that and not watching the main roster, to be quite
Oh,
honest.
that was a great time. Yeah.
Exactly, fun time. And then I realized like my tastes were not like I wasn't really into like I knew I loved wrestling, but I knew like what was on TV was not really appealing to me.
Hmm.
For the longest, there weren't any options, and so by the time the AEW came around, I was at the tail end of my college career, and so I was just doing like a million stuff, and so like then COVID happens right before I graduate, and I get into like I'm just trying to figure out life and everything, and like I get involved in politics, and so I'm working campaigns, and so at the end of all this, wrestling is really the thing that kind of like really hooked me back into life. Like it was my safe space, it was my rescue. I actually have gone to college with the intent of working in wrestling. So like my degree is in sport and entertainment management. But like like I said, midway through like my degree program, it just felt like there were no spaces for me. So I'm just like, okay, well, I'll just finish this, but like I'm just gonna focus on doing other stuff. And so, yeah, I've had those times where like I've gone in and out, but it's never because I felt like I was too cool for wrestling. I either had like was too occupied in one space of my life, or I knew that I liked wrestling. I just hadn't found what I liked yet.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to really find what I liked. But once I found what I liked, like it's clear as you can all see, it's been full steam ahead ever since.
Yeah. And I think that's also like that like NXT Black and Gold, like you said. I think it brought a lot of people back in and it changed like what we were watching and what we
Yeah,
liked. And we're like, oh, because yeah, you're right. Like a lot of stuff wasn't accessible. Like now you could watch anything under the sun. But like a couple years ago, it was like harder to find. It was real hard. But like now it's like you can find something because
exactly.
there's all many alternatives to just the one. Not
Yeah.
saying that's bad.
And I realized like I think that should have been like my first clue. Like I do prefer a more wrestling based product. Like segments are cool, talking is cool, but like I watch wrestling for wrestling, like that's my jam. Like, and so there were just not a lot of products that were wrestling centric, you know? And so now I feel like there's so much, and then like there's so much available now, like, you know, on the internet. So I can watch wrestling from Japan. I can watch wrestling from the UK. I can watch wrestling from Mexico, or I can watch like all these different things. Like indie promotions are even streaming now. Like there's just so much more accessible. So I feel like it's like going into an ice cream shop and being able to like pick out whatever you like. And so that's what I really enjoy, I think, about this era of wrestling. And so I highly doubt there will probably ever be a season again where I'm not watching wrestling in some shape, form, or fashion, just because a lot of things are just so much easier to consume now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, you know, you mentioned your TED Talks and all of the stuff in college. You overachiever. Unsurprising that you were an over. Just seeing this whole year, yes, unsurprising. Like you said, you were like doing politics and TED Talks. Like, what specifically were you doing in college? That's very impressive.
What was I doing? Did a little bit of everything. So I'm a first generation college graduate, and so I've always had a chip on my shoulder. I knew like I had to be successful in some shape, form, or fashion. Like there was no game plan. There's no rich parents to fall back on. Like it's literally all me. And so, what all did I do? So I was involved in, like I said, student government. I ended up running for president at one point and I went to a huge school. I went to the University of South Carolina, which is the flagship institution of the state of South Carolina. Go Gamecocks. I interned for the athletics department for a few years. I was involved in a musical theater ensemble. I was involved in a vocal jazz ensemble. So that was about 6 semesters between those two. I've actually gotten to perform for Hootie and the Blowfish on the Today Show. That was cool. What else? I gave a TED Talk when I was 20. About my experiences as a first generation college student. I was the only undergraduate student to be able to do that. What else did I was selected to go to the Forbes Under 30 Summit when I was, and I was a Forbes Under 30 scholar. My senior year of college, I studied abroad in Germany. I got to represent first generation college students on Capitol Hill. What else did I do? I did a ton. And even after, immediately after undergrad, like I started working on with one of my best friends, came up with this history project, and so we actually came up with a documentary about the history of Black women at the University of South Carolina, and it ended up actually winning awards around the world. So it won awards in Germany and London. And I actually got to go to London to showcase the film. That was actually last year. So during spring break, my first trip when I went to the UK, and then the second one was for All In, obviously.
Oh yeah.
So I've gotten to do like a lot of cool stuff. Like I'm really grateful for my time at USC, and I feel like it taught me a lot. Like a lot of the skills that I use today. Like for example, like I remember I had a professor who knew I was interested in wrestling on my first day of college. In my intro to sport management class, I remember he asked a question about, he said, it was something about like, it was right before the huge streaming boom in sports. And they were like, who is on the, he asked a question, he said like, who do you think currently in sports today is the innovator as it relates to streaming and content libraries? And nobody had the answer. And I raised my hand. I was like, the WWE network, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was the only person who knew that question. I remember afterwards, I went up to him. I said, hey, I think I like, you know, and so many people, they would ask you on the first day of class, because it's a super competitive program, #1 sports science institution in the country. People ask people, what do you want to do when you graduate? Some people say, I want to be the NFL commissioner. I want to own a team one day. I want to do this. I want to, you know, run the MLB. I said, I want to work in professional wrestling, sir. Keep in mind, I'm like the only Black girl in the room. And so like, he just looked at me and just like, are you serious? Like, he was like, you're serious? I'm like, I'm serious. And so I remember one time WWE was in town, and it was my freshman year at college, and he sent me an email. He said, Lyric, I know this is super late, but they're in town, and like they could take us backstage like right now if you can get across campus. Keep in mind, I have no car. It's raining. I'm running across campus to get there, and I get there early and ahead of all the other guys too.
Oh my gosh.
So it's funny, and even like after I left his class, like 2 years later, I was doing like resident RA training for because I was an RA on campus, and I remember he said, "Hey, they're in town. I have front row seats for this live event tonight. I know it's long. I know it's short notice." And I'm just like, I tell my boss, I'm like, "Hey, listen, I'm leaving in
I'm out.
30 minutes. Like, I know we're in training or anything, and like, if you have to like penalize me, do whatever you got to do. But I'm going, bro. Like, I'm going. Like, I'm front row at this.
You
live
can't.
and it was nuts. Like, I got to meet like I met AJ Styles that night backstage, and like the main event actually was AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe.
Ooh.
And like I got to see Samoa Joe backstage, but I didn't speak to him because he looked scary as shit. But it was just nuts. Like, so yeah. But I just got so discouraged, you know, like because I would go to these things and I would never see anybody that looked like me, or I never felt like my dreams were like, how do I say it, were like taken seriously as far and honestly I didn't even know what my dreams were at that point. Like wrestling was completely different back, and that was only like what 4 years ago 4 or 5 years ago. Like it was so different back then. So yeah, I'm really grateful for all those experiences. I was a bit of a busybody. I still am to an extent, obviously, but the overachieving thing just is in my blood.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. None of that, of course. I mean, I knew you were accomplished. I mean, I've seen you talk about your Forbes under 30, you know, before to these people who need to go outside. Um, but no, I'm so impressed. And like, even like, you know, your year is so impressive. Like, what made you come into this space like a year ago? Was there somebody you saw, or like, how did you even just like, I'm gonna just do it? Like, because it's a big decision.
Yeah, there were a lot of, I think, little small things that kind of like made it into this big thing. And I don't think that I ever expected that to turn into this. Like I said, I was overachiever for so much of my life, and I felt like I was going full speed ahead from literally the day that I was born up until like maybe I would say about 2022, like beginning of 2022 ish, and like I just my body couldn't take it anymore. Of just going that full speed ahead, like coming out of COVID and then being on my own, and just I would work political campaigns, and like if you've ever worked a campaign before, it becomes your entire life. Like you don't have a social life, you don't have anything. Like you just literally eat, sleep, work. That's it. And I came out of that experience, and I was just so broken down, and I was depressed. I was anxious. So many of my friends had moved away. Like my support system had really kind of like left, and I also started like developing health issues from like neglecting myself for so long. And so part of this depression and like this low on myself, I'm spending more time alone than I think I ever have. And one thing that I got into almost by accident was wrestling again. And I remember they had came to town, WWE had came to town actually on my birthday, 2022. I went, it was a good time with I went with my brother, he's 17, but he was like 15 at the time. So it was fine.
Yeah,
I was
cute
just
little
like,
time.
I didn't get the bug all the way back, but it was just, nice to be in the room.
Mm.
Then AEW comes to town, to South Carolina for the first time. And I make my decision the day of to go. Like, and because I was kind of broke, and one of my friends was still in town. This was right before they graduated. And I said, hey, like, I know this sounds crazy, but there's this wrestling show tonight. Well, you want to go? And they're like, oh yes, like, oh my gosh, that sounds so much fun. Like, this sounds like a mission. And I had the best time. I had the best time at Dynamite, and I start watching wrestling a little bit more regularly because I have free time now.
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, I'm
what is this?
actually home on Wednesday night, and I'm just getting more and more into it, and like I will say, like my personal life is continuing to like plummet. So like I have a ton of free time. And I remember the night of Double or Nothing. The night of Double or Nothing, I had been watching like fairly regularly, but I had decided if I was going to buy it. And I remember I see this promo on Twitter of Eddie Kingston, and he does this promo of like, I try to drown my demons, but they know how to swim. And I'm just so moved. Like, I'm just so moved. And I'm just like, fuck it. I don't have anything to do this weekend. Let me just pay this $50 on Bleacher Report. I watched Double or Nothing. It's a blast.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, Forbidden Doors not too long after that. And I'm not even like fully into Japanese wrestling yet, but I watched Forbidden Door and I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. And I become obsessed. Like, and like, I'm still like in this huge depressive state of my life, but I would literally sit in a dark room like for hours and hours and hours just watching old tapes of like Japanese wrestling and Puro and Joshi, and it really just kept me going while watching like all this current wrestling. And I'm just like, I'm like, yes, like this is my jam. And I'm really in a bad place, but wrestling is really my safe space. And so like November, I'm telling my friends from college that I haven't seen in a long time. I'm like, hey, you want to come with me to New Jersey? I had never been to a wrestling pay-per-view, never traveled for anything. Like anytime I see wrestling is when they're in my hometown. That's it. And I said, hey, y'all want to take flights to New Jersey and like do this? They're like, okay, well, we don't watch wrestling, but cool, like we'll go with you. So I go to Full Gear and I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, and Rampage, just the vibe, like being in this sold out arena, like I'm just like, oh, I felt so like I felt so alive. And my life continues to plummet outside of that. And then I remember I didn't make the decision because it was the holidays, around the holidays, and I was alone. And so one of my friends, the same friend who came to Dynamite with me that time, had moved to Dallas. And so I'm going to visit them in Dallas. And it's also Ring of Honor Final Battle weekend. And so I wasn't originally planning on going to that show, but I go to that show and it really had this huge impact on me. And obviously FTR Briscoes 3 happened. I was there when Athena won the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. And it was just such an awesome feeling. And then moving on into the next month, Jay Briscoe passes away. And that had such a big impact on me because I was like, I wasn't even supposed to be there for that match. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't supposed to originally go on that trip. Like it really happened, but like almost by accident. And for me to have been there and like for that to be like, his last time in Ring of Honor, and like you just never know. And just like that was when the wheels started turning of just like, okay, life is short. Like, and I know I've always had this thing with wrestling. I've never really given it a fair shot. And so the next month was obviously February. And I was born in February. My birthday's on February 21st. And I said, you know what? Hey, like you turned 25 this year and give yourself 1 year. Like for 1 year, throw everything you have at the wall and hope it sticks. Like for 1 year, like I said, I've been an overachiever all my life, very careful person. And like, very calculated with how the risk I take. Like I said, for 1 year, don't care about the risks, don't care about how much it costs or like, how to make it happen. Just whatever you want to do, whatever you think should be done, make it happen. And so, yeah, so my year's almost up. My year's up about a week and a half.
Yes, happy early birthday. We were recording this a couple days before your birthday.
Thank you. And so I told myself, I said, hey, if by the end of this year, if I've made enough progress, I'll keep going. And I said, if I don't, then I'll go back to politics or some other shit I hated, and I'll just be normal if I don't make anything out of this year. So I think I've done enough to stay. I would like to make more money for sure, but
yes, The only downside.
Absolutely. But yeah, so that's really how it all came together. It really came as like my little coping mechanism that got me through like some tough times. And then I just start talking about wrestling and people start listening. And I'm just like, oh my God. And it's weird. Like I said, I've been an overachiever my entire life. Like I've been into public speaking since I was kindergarten, right? But I think like it's a lot different to like speak about stuff for the greater good, like the right thing, versus speaking about things that are you're so passionate about. Like when I talk about wrestling, like that's as real and pure of me as it gets, like, you know. And so like that's not me trying to be a leader or put on a facade. Like that's me, the nerd at her core, just a hyper obsessive. So it's scary, but it's thrilling at the same time.
I love that. I feel that the same way though. Like I just say like I don't know who I would be without wrestling. You know, I've been watching wrestling for 24 years this year. Um my my entire childhood and like the good, the bad. If I didn't have wrestling there as like my other best friend, like who knows where we would be. You know, and especially like personally for me last year, like a really rough year, but I had wrestling. And got
Yes.
the one good thing, like we could talk crazy about what a wild business this is and all of the bad things, but it's also so good. When
Absolutely.
it's good and it's such a community. You know, I found you, you know, I found like we have a good group of people that, you know, from somewhere else that we have bonded with. And
And I think the community thing is so important too. Like
Mhm.
that had a huge part to do with it, of just I live in my college town. So like I live
Mhm.
in my college town, and so but everybody else is not from my college town. So like I'll make all these friends and we'll be together for 4, 5, 6 years, and then suddenly everybody moves and it's just like, oh my God, you all hate me. And I was really, especially like last year, part of this too, it was just like I knew I needed to like build community in some way and like make new friends and find more people in interest. Like, don't get me wrong, the friends that I have will always be
Yeah.
friends. But you know, like there's just like, for example, my best friend had moved to London and moved to London for grad school. And so it was on the other side of the world for a
Yeah.
while, which ended up coming in great handy during All In weekend, by the way.
Mhm. I'm sure. I'm sure. Knowing people
Great
in the
handy,
right places.
great. But you know, like I needed to build community, and so like being able to like start traveling in these places, like to say that I've been to Toronto, I've been to LA, I've been to Philadelphia, I've been to Japan, I've been to London, and I can honestly say like I have at least one friend in all these places due to wrestling. Of just, you know, you never know who you're going to meet, you never know, like it, there's a lot of bad,
A
but
lot.
when you get to like actually interact with people in person outside of just the internet, the good outweighs the bad every time.
Oh, yeah. Those wrestling trips are always like the
Ah,
best. Like seeing
fantastic.
you full gear weekend, like I should not have been at full gear weekend. You're telling me, you know, you're talking about doing whatever. I'm like, somehow it happened. And seeing you full gear weekend and like that was a great weekend. Uh, so like it really does help your mental state and like feeling like you belong because especially I think, you know, as women of color, like it gets smaller and smaller of wrestling fans and then it's women, you know, we're
Absolutely.
getting we're small here.
I
So
want you to
you
see
find
like
somebody.
at full gear, like just seeing, you know, one familiar face, like, or you know, like somebody, you know, you just immediately feel more at ease, right? Like you feel like,
Yes.
whoo, I'm supposed to be here. Okay. Like I'm
Hmm.
just like, you know, you feel like you belong. So yeah, it makes a huge difference, you know, and I'm really grateful, like, you know, as women, for us to be able to build that community with each other. Like you said, like it's not always there. Like I speak about this all the time on Twitter, but I've covered wrestling now in 4 different countries, and in almost every single one of them, I am one of the only women in the room, probably the only Black woman in the room. And any person who isn't like a complete narcissist, you're not going to be okay with that. Like, I don't like being the only woman in the room. It gives me severe anxiety.
Like, those rooms are very intimidating.
It gives me severe anxiety. And so if I can ever do anything to make sure that there's more women in those rooms, more women of color in those rooms, I'm always going to do it because it's nerve-wracking to be in there by yourself. And for people who love being the only woman in the room, not me. Y'all got it.
Yes, I know the first time I was in that room was terrifying. I felt like everyone was looking at me. Like, I know no one was, but in your head, it is terrifying.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I've been in like high pressure situations before a million times in my life. Like, I have no problem speaking up. I have no problem asking questions. It's just like a lot of times the pressure comes from outside because like if you say something like, what are they going to say on Twitter? When are they going to say this? And like
you get the threads of somebody. Oh, they asked this question. It's like, okay,
and you're just like constantly second guess yourself, like, oh, should I ask? Should I ask this? And you're playing the little game with your hand. It's like, should I?
Make eye contact.
And it's just like and I have to remind myself. I think for me personally, that's where my political and my leadership background it really helps me. Because when I go into those situations, like I just immediately I have to snap into like a whole different personality. Because if like regular Lyric goes in there, she's gonna probably throw up. So I have to like immediately tap into like, oh yeah, girl boss babe. Yeah. that version of myself. And it's not like it's fake or anything, but it's a very amped up version of all of my best traits.
Right.
So I have to tap into that, or else I'm literally going to have a panic attack right in front of Tony Khan.
I think it's like a Beyonce, Sasha Fierce,
Exactly. Beyonce and Sasha Fierce, perfect comparison.
That you got to just hype yourself up.
Exactly. That is exactly me.
Yeah, but those rooms are a lot, but yes, seeing more women is helpful, and when other women supporting you in that room is also very helpful.
Absolutely, for sure.
Well, we talked about a little bit about Forbidden Door because I think a lot of people know you as a Joshi Japanese sort of expert. That's what you were known for.
In training.
Yes, you were working on it.
In training.
Yes, like what made you like look at it? Like, was it Forbidden Door that you were like, oh, what is this? Like, is that what kind
Forbidden
of opened
Door,
your...
And I think also of just like the more you get into the AEW product, like there's so many different elements there, and so like me, I want to know how people became how they were. I want to know how people like yes, let me see your G1 Climax run, Hangman, from when you were in New Japan and Ring of Honor at the same time. Like I love like seeing like that. So, and I'm also one of those people, I have no problem going back and watching years and years worth of content. And so that's really where that came from too. And it's just like, I remember like watching Forbidden Door, seeing Shibata, and like I go back and I watch some of his matches, and like I truly think like watching Shibata versus Okada at Sakura Genesis 2017, like watching that match saved my life, just because like I was so depressed at the time and I felt so numb to the world. And like that match is passion personified. The performance that Shibata gives is so passionate. It's so intense. You can literally see the sweat bouncing off of his body. Like it's such an intense experience that makes you feel something. Like even if you feel numb, like you're going to feel something after watching that. And like it's just start watching more and more and more. And I also like that first Forbidden Door. I feel like it was such a shit show in the best way of just like, the
changes, the injuries,
injured. And so like the card that we get at the end is just kind of like this smorgasbord of just all this crazy stuff, but it worked so well. And I was such a fan. Like Will Ospreay versus Orange Cassidy ended up being my match of the year that year. And like, I also like Bullet Club versus Dudes with Attitudes. Like you have Sting jumping off of like, come on, man. Like, like Minoru Suzuki, like the Kaze Nina Ray and like United States, like it's a classic. Like it's one of those things to where like for somebody who's trying to get deeper into wrestling, that's a great entry point of like, oh, you want to know like how New Japan can make people feel or Japanese wrestling can make people feel, like turn that on. And yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun night because it was chaotic, but it turned out like the best way. Like
I've rewatched that pay-per-view more times than I think any other pay-per-view, and I can rewatch it with no skips.
Is that like a comfort?
That is my comfort. No, that's my comfort. Yeah, that one, and I love Wrestle Dream too. Like I can rewatch Wrestle Dream all the time.
And like, where did the Joshi just come in from being like wanting to know more about Japanese wrestling and being like, wait, what's over here?
Exactly. Yeah, and so when I was getting more into Japanese wrestling, I was watching like a lot of like vintage All Japan women's wrestling. So Akira Hakuto, Manami Toyota, Aja Kong. So I'm watching a ton of that stuff. And then I remember like, and I would see people talk about Stardom. And so I remember the New Japan Stardom crossover show happened and I was getting interested in that. And my first time watching Stardom live, because I had watched like a lot of old matches, but we're watching it live, was December 29th, 22, which was Dream Queendom. And I remember I saw Julia versus Suri, and it was like the most amazing thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is fantastic. And what else? That was also the night that Club Venus finally debuted. So that was the debut of Mariah May in Stardom. So like I've been following her since her first day in Stardom, essentially, and like watching her career, watch her blossom. And so yeah, so it was just I feel like I got like kind of got like hooked on the ride and like just kind of got swept away. And you know, that's where I am now.
I love that. Is that like what would you tell people? Because like I'm not like a casual New Japan viewer. Like I know enough, but I'm more of like big events and things. Just a lot of wrestling. And like I would love to watch more Joshi. I would love to watch more Stardom. Like what would you say if somebody was like, I want to watch this, what should I watch or who should I find?
Oh,
do you have any?
I would say, like, honestly, I would jump in live, like with any big show. Like, for example, like with New Japan right now, this New Beginning in Osaka show that's happening like within the next 16 hours.
Yes.
It's going to be huge. Like, you know, that's Okada's last, you know, singles match in New Japan, Ospreay's last match. They're doing a steel cage in New Japan for the first time in what, 25 years. War game style, which is about to be absolutely insane. Brian Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. again, because you know why not?
Why not?
And there's just so much cool stuff, and then like, and I think Stardom right now there's like just a lot of uncertainty, but there's a lot of great talent there. And so like for me personally, what I do, if I see somebody like I really like, I'll go in cage match and like I'll sort their matches by like rating of what people have rated the best, and I'll just keep going through that, and like it helped me introduce me to like more wrestlers. And so like I don't think there's a perfect way to get into anything. Like you just have to start. You just have to start, and like you're not going to be perfect at every. You're not going to catch everything and be like the perfect fan. I think like sometimes we put too much pressure on people. Like, yeah, like were you watching that house show tag from 2 weeks ago and how bad you want? Like, well, like, you know, I feel like do what you're comfortable.
You have to know everything from like 30 years ago.
Like, you know, do what you're comfortable with, and also just have an open mind. Like, just be willing to learn. And big shows are cool. Like, you know, Wrestle Kingdom is always going to be a great way to get into New Japan. Dominion, the big show they do in Osaka Joe Hall, you know, Stardom, like, you know, All-Star Grand Queendom was clearly a big show for them. Tournaments are honestly the best way, I think, to get into Japanese wrestling. Like, there's the G1 Climax in New Japan. There's the 5-Star Grand Prix in Stardom. There's the N1 Victory Tournament in Noah. There's the Champions Carnival in All Japan. So, like, tournaments are always going to be a great way to get into. World Tag League. Best of the Super Juniors for junior heavyweights. Stardom does something called the Goddess Tag Tournament, which is their tag tournament, and they also do something called the Cinderella Tournament, which is another single eliminations tournament. And New Japan does the New Japan Cup, which is coming up very soon, and it's a single elimination tournament too. So for people who are like, oh, the G1 might be too much, New Japan will be an easy way. New Japan Cup is an easy way to, like, get started. Single elimination tournament, very easy to follow, and then get you into some more stuff. And I think also ask for help. Like, it, not even just me, but like I think that for any fan who's truly a fan of pro wrestling, they are happy to help other fans learn more about pro wrestling. Like, gatekeeping is not normal. It shouldn't be normal, but like just ask and approach people like respectfully and like, hey, I want to know more about this, and typically they'll help.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of help, and I think, why would you want to gatekeep? It's already weird. Like, this is already a niche thing that people think we're weird for.
Like, and that's the thing too about people things like, oh, well, if I'm into WWE or if I'm into Joshi wrestling, like I'm going to be more cool than you who watch AEW. Like, guys, we're all
I
nerds.
only watch New Japan. Yeah,
we're
those guys.
all nerds here.
Yeah,
the outside world looks at us all like nerds.
Like, you get the, oh, I like wrestling here. Oh, cool.
And you see literally the way that people's eyes glaze over, like, yeah, like,
yeah, those like about yous at a new job or anything like that. You go around, you tell a fact about you. Well, I'm really into wrestling, and then they're, I don't want to talk to this person anymore. You get the like.
I get like labeled as the wrestling girl from like for the rest of my life. Like, oh, you're the girl who likes wrestling. Like, it's just like that is literally your stamp. That's your stamp. That's your new personality. And
yes, my special interest is wrestling, and people from high school will still know that you're the one who watched wrestling. Yep.
It's so funny. So like when I this is a quick story, but this is so funny. I've been into wrestling since I was a kid. Like, I used to show up. We used to fight on the playground all the time, and like we would bring in our toy belts, and so I would fight with the boys. And so like obviously the people who win, like they'll take the belts. They take everybody's belts home, and so I knew like I couldn't come home without the belt that I came with. So like I would have to win. Hello. So I said all this to say it was just, when I started traveling for wrestling a lot, like a lot of my new friends were like, oh, what is she doing? Or like people. And so one of my best friends went over to another one of our friends that we grew up with, their house for some holiday. I think it was like 4th of July or something. They were with their mom. And so she was like, the guy's mom was like, hey, I've seen on Lyric's Facebook page. Is she a wrestler now? Like, is she a wrestler now? She's and the guy was like, oh no, mom. Nah, she been like that forever. Like, no, she not new to this. She been like that forever, mom. And then like it's so funny, like, because apparently like a whole bunch, when they started having the conversation, like a whole bunch of people from my elementary school like life, they start joining the conversation. They were just like, well, I mean, like, if she is a wrestler, like, this is on brand. She has been talking about this forever, y'all. Like, this is it. Like, I'm like, I'm not a wrestler.
No.
My friend was like, no, she's not a wrestler. She just loved it. And they said, hey, listen, we won't judge her. We won't judge her. She's been on this for a very long time. She's been so consistent. So that's funny. Yeah.
So they think you're a wrestler. Yeah. You know what? Just go with it.
They thought so many. Yeah. Well, the thing is right now, like, from like our city and like our old high school, wrestling is kind of popular right now because Trick Williams went to my high school. So, yeah. So he graduated the year before I came in, but like we went to the same high school and we went to the same college. So like people are seeing him on TV now. So like then they'll see me like doing wrestling. Just like, what is this wrestling bug going around right now? So it's funny.
That's better. That's a better person to have. Technically, I have to claim Brian Cage. He lived here for a while. That is our wrestler claim to fame. He's technically from Chico, but he lived here for a while. So if you watch Lucha Underground and he was built from the 559, that's my city. That's my fun fact. I lost my train of thought. Now we're talking about. Oh, I know what to tell you. I'm really proud of you for defending your belts, because if you bring a belt to a wrestling show, you gotta defend it, guys. You gotta defend it.
I used to have the which one did I have? I had the toy Rey Mysterio title. So like he had those toy belts at that point. And then I used to have like also a John Cena a spinner belt. And I remember it broke and I was so mad. And I was so mad because like, it was on the little foam belt. So I took like the spinner plate off and I literally glued it to a sheet of paper and I stapled it on my wall. And it was up there until I kid you not, I was a teenager. And I used to have the You Can't See Me wristbands, chain gang sweatshirt.
I have the autographed John Cena CD, okay, with the like Live Strong white C Nation bracelet.
Oh yeah, your stamp. That's real. That's real.
And my belt over here is the Yolo County tag belt, cardboard belts that were defended by heavy machinery.
Gotta respect it.
So I won't bring those because I'm not trying to challenge. Bring a belt to a show. You're gonna be challenged. It's just the rules. I don't make the rules.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't like carrying things a lot, so I can't do it.
I want the least amount of things on me at a wrestling show.
And I also realized, like, especially when I did a lot of meet and greets while I was at All In, and so like some of the wrestlers, not All In weekend. So like the Rev Pro show, a lot of New Japan talent. So like they'll let me hold the belts, and so like Zack Sabre Jr. let me hold that TV championship, and holy shit,
the toaster,
so heavy.
Belts are heavy. I held. Mika and I went to, when we were in Vegas last year, we got to hold the Ring of Honor tag belts that Lucha Brothers had at the time. Heavy.
I got to hold Shibata let me hold his Pure belt, and I'm like, I said, this is so heavy. But I will say, like, they're like, yeah, that was heavy, but no, that TV title was not.
Well, it's a toaster. We call it a toaster title.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Did Osprey let me hold the UK belt? I don't know if he might have been holding it, but yeah. I just know that toaster title was
it's a lot. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, when they put it on your shoulder, like as a kid, I had the SmackDown tag team titles on my shoulder from Miz and Morrison. I held the women's championship. Melina let me hold it. That was the first championship I held, and I was like, "Oh, this is heavy." The old WWF, like WWE title.
I didn't get a lot of those experiences as a kid. Like I went to like maybe one or two shows as a kid and never got to do like meet and greets or anything. So like I didn't get to hold belts or get any of those fun little.
I was a teenager. It was a few and far between.
Yeah, I was at least 20, 21 by the time I started getting some of those memories. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like little me would have fell over trying to hold some of this stuff.
Yeah, they're crazy. Like, speaking, would little you just be like mind blown of like everything you've done?
Literally. Yeah. And it's so funny. I got on a plane for the first time in 2019. 2019, I went to New York and a friend had gotten me to go. And by the end of that year, I've been flying. And so like I remember I have a mentor in school. And my sophomore year, they were doing this passport caravan on campus. So they were helping low-income students get passports, and they were through the university and they would pay for everything. And I remember I had a mentor. She was like, "Hey, Lyric, you need to go to apply for this passport." And I was like, "Why?" I said, "I'm never going to leave." I said, "I have no reason to ever leave. I have no reason to ever go anywhere." I had never even considered like leaving the country, flying anywhere, going abroad. I said, "I'm probably just going to stay here in my hometown for the rest of my life." And she said, "Well, just do it for me. Just get it just in case." And I remember I had just let that passport had just sat and collected dust for years. And then I went for the first time in 2020, right before the pandemic. So I'll go during winter break. I go to Germany and I have a blast. Then the world shuts down and I don't use this passport again until 2023. And I just start going everywhere. And so it's funny, like I literally, little me would have never, ever expect, like I always knew like I was outspoken. I always knew that, you know, there was some potential there. Like I never expected in any of my wildest dreams to do half of the stuff that I got to do in the past year now.
I love that though. Like you never know what things are gonna happen for the future. Like just have a passport.
Yeah.
And it just sat there, but then you used it. Like you've gotten to do such amazing things. You've gotten to go to all these shows already. Is there anything left on your bucket list? You've hit a lot of wrestling bucket list places. Like
Yeah, there's still some. I will say I have gone through most of them, but on my wrestling bucket list is Chicago still. Never done Chicago. And I plan to do Chicago. I'm going to Windy City Riot, so that's going to be fun. Never done Chicago, and I've never done Arena Mexico. So I've done Japan, I've done the UK, and my next major thing is I need to do Mexico. And I want to do All In again. I want to do Wembley again. And yeah, like it's certain things that I always want to be in the room for. I always want to be in the room for Forbidden Door. I always want to be in the room for Wrestle Dream. Anytime like there's a collaboration between like, you know, AEW and New Japan, I always want to be there. And getting paid. That is the number one goal of, you know,
all of our goals.
Yeah, to like really be able to monetize all of my gifts, because like there's so much stuff like I haven't even started to do yet, or even haven't even tapped into yet, that I have like both the skill set for and I have experience of. There's so much stuff like I haven't even like gotten started for real yet. Like that's the thing, is just like I know what I'm capable of, and I haven't even scratched the surface yet. And so yeah, I'm just more opportunities. And yeah, Mexico. Mexico's a must. Like Mexico and Chicago are really up there for me. And I would love to go back to New York. I've never done wrestling in New York, so I'd love to go back to New York.
Yeah, that East Coast New York wrestling vibe, yeah, that's something.
Definitely.
Chicago's good. I did Chicago for Brawl Out. Yeah, I was I wasn't in the room, but I was there. I was in Chicago that time. It's great. Like to experience the Chicago crowd is great. And New Japan in Chicago.
Especially
that card?
That was the defining moment for me, honestly, when they announced that show, because I was going to try to make WrestleMania weekend work. Obviously not for WrestleMania exactly, but just, you know, to see people and go to stuff. And then like they announced that show. I said, oh yeah, I'm going to Chicago. I said, one, that this is more my speed. Two, that if they're booking a arena this big, they must have some tricks up their sleeves. And everything that I've seen thus far, it's like, yeah, I made the right decision. I need to go.
Yeah, that's going to be a great show. Let's switch gears a little. Stuff you've got to talk to a lot of people already. You know, you've interviewed Rocky Romero, you've interviewed Mariah May, like you've interviewed a lot of people. Who's left? What's been so far your favorite, and who's someone you want to do maybe this year, like a little bit of this goal?
I know, it was crazy. I set a goal last month of who I said I wanted to interview by the end of the year, and I didn't think I was going to hit it until December at minimum, and I did it.
Can we say, or is it a secret?
Yeah, wait, when does this come out?
Sometime this week.
Oh, okay, cool. So it'll be out by then. So I got to interview Athena, and whew, I think that was the best interview I've ever done. I'm not gonna lie, and I sit and that and the Thekla interview were top two for me. The Thekla interview was also one, being able to do it in person, and I think like that just makes a huge difference. And just being able to chill in a coffee shop and just talk, you know, for an hour. And like there's always something that I'm going for when I interview people is just like, I try to, one, not ask the same questions that everybody else is asking. Two, I like to interview people that I'm genuinely a fan of. And so like, I'm not just collecting interviews like Infinity Stones. Like, I'm asking things that I genuinely as a fan want to know the answer to. And then three, I want specifically wrestlers to feel safe. Like, I want it, you know, a lot of times people are just looking for a scoop. Like, I want people to feel like, oh, I'm being showcased. Oh, somebody sees my work. Oh, people appreciate my work. And so, yeah, I don't know who's left. I would love to one day. Obviously, Mercedes is one of those people. I would love to interview Kenny Omega one day.
Oh my god.
First, like Hangman. I just love all of the elite. Actually, just
yes.
them.
They're so elusive though, those boys.
Like I don't watch WWE often, but Bianca Belair is a dream for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many people, and honestly, like the real goal is like I would love to be able to one day really interview Japanese talent. Like imagine, I wish I knew Japanese. Like have a sit down interview with Hiroshi Tanahashi would just. Shibata. Yeah, there's just so many. There's so many, but like Mercedes is a big one. Like a big one. And I remember last year somebody interviewed me about this and asked me, and I said, I don't know if I'm at the level yet to like interview somebody like Mercedes. I'm still getting my feet wet, but like, you know, I feel like I need to start just speaking things into existence and just like, you know, hoping for the best. And so, yeah, that's the one. That is the one for me. Absolutely.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
I love Omega.
Let's get into a little AEW. We are both AEW girlies. Yes. You can see us both on Body Slam. Shout out to Body Slam for just being awesome.
Shout out to Body Slam.
We appreciate you so much. A lot is happening getting into Revolution. We have Sting's final match. We have their new tag team champions against Matthew and Nicholas. Like Hangman Swerve, Samoa Joe. A lot has happened. Deanna and Timeless Tony Storm. How are we feeling about this road to Revolution?
You know, I feel great. I feel awesome. I feel amazing. I feel vindicated. You know what? I will say, AEW fans, we was getting cooked in 2023. It was hard. And now I see just about every other wrestling fandom is struggling. And for the first time, it feels like
yeah,
we have nothing to do with
nothing.
It. Like,
not us. You know that Big E gif where he's just eating popcorn? That's all of us.
Exactly. And so you know what? God is amazing. I'm so excited. I'm just so excited. Like I said, I love wrestling, and I think that wrestling is so good right now in AEW, and seeing these partnerships with like New Japan and CMLL, like this is what I live for. Like I love interpromotional collaboration, these dream matches. Like, yes, like the big emphasis on the women's division. The girls are killing it right now. Everybody, all of my faves are getting screen time. They're getting like, you know, they're getting. I truly can't ask for much more. My good sister Mercedes on the way. We got Big Kazoo pulling up soon.
Yeah, big business. You think they're both pulling up? What are we doing? Are we seeing a coin drop and the CEO?
I'm so confused, and I'm so confused because like I don't know if Mercedes is going to talk or is she going to wrestle. And the reason why I say that is because I think that it made sense that for Rampage, the first dance, right, that you had Punk just talk because he's known for talking. But I feel like Mercedes is more known for her wrestling. And so, like, I don't know if we should get, like, you know, she comes out at Revolution and then she just challenges her opponent, you know, for whoever's going to be a big business, or should we? I think Big Kazoo should debut at Revolution for sure. I don't know I don't know. And so like maybe he'll be on the card, for
Mhm.
big business. Maybe that'll be like his first match or whatever. So maybe that's how it happens. I'm just so excited. Like these are two of my favorites, like my favorites. And I'm not gonna lie, I not saying like I didn't have any faith in AEW or anything, but I did not expect them to land every big free agent in the past year and a half. I did not expect them to get all of them.
Yeah. See, yeah, Tony didn't have to do his Infinity Stone photo.
He said yesterday's price is not today's price. He said, "Get your money up, not your funny up."
We talk a lot about Tony Khan, but you know what? This year, he put his big boy pants on this year. I think he's really.
He put his money where his mouth is. Y'all can call him whatever you want, but you can't call him broke.
Listen. But yeah, big business. I don't know. Do we have, maybe it's an open challenge, and then we hear the song, we hear Monday, it has to be at the end. It's gonna drag it out.
I think honestly, at that point, you just gotta open Dynamite with her. You gotta open Dynamite with her because the people will riot. I think they'll riot. Yeah,
they'll take over the whole show.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's perfect. I feel like maybe this is the boost they needed for that women's division, because in the past couple months we have seen it grow. We get 2 women's matches on Collision in the past couple of weeks.
And like,
we got stories, multiple stories.
This week it's like 2 real women's matches, not just such and such an action. Like, no, like these are 2 legit women's
matches. But we get matches, we have stories, things that are not for the title. We have, people friendships and different layers of storytelling for the women and getting time.
There's like at least 2 storylines per show right now between Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Plus ROH.
Yeah. We still talk about Athena. Hello. I think that's really proved to Tony that this is the thing. I feel like last summer with Athena, Billy, that was this story, that group, that pairing is so perfect. Lexi, can't forget my girl Lexi.
Can't forget Lexi.
Can't forget her. She's a real one. But I think it proved to him, because that's what everyone is talking about. No matter what is happening on that Ring of Honor card, you want to talk about what Athena was doing.
Absolutely.
And now, picking up, we got multiple stories. Like I said, we got the belts. We have Julia and Sky Blue having a situation. We got, everyone has their own thing now. We kind of know who everyone is.
I'm so excited that we've gotten here.
Good.
It's so good. Like, I can, and it's not even me saying like, oh, I just want things to be good. So, this is so good. Like, no, it's actually so good. Like, I'm actually invested. Like, I'm actually excited about all of these women's futures. And so, like, yeah, it's only up. Like, this is just the beginning. And knowing that this is just the beginning, it's just like, oh my gosh, we have no idea about how good it's about to get. Like, this is
February. March 13th is quickly approaching. We don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? But hopefully, it's going to be good. We're going to have a good time. Revolution's going to be amazing. Are you going to Revolution?
Yes, I will be. This is one of the rare pay-per-views where I don't have to like take a flight halfway across the country. So yeah, it's in North Carolina and I'm in South Carolina. So yeah,
you're good.
Yeah, pretty decent trip.
Yeah, Sting's final match. How are we feeling about Sting and Darby being tag champions?
Love it. I think it's great. Nicholas and Matthew Jackson, you did not have to beat them up like that. But no, I think it's great. I've been a huge proponent of Sting being able to be in the AEW record books permanently in some form, shape, or fashion. So I'm happy that he's gotten to hold a title at least once, because I want future generations one day when they look back on this era of, AEW, I want them to be able to see Sting and like what he did and like all the cool stuff and like be able to like point to his name as, being a part of the history. So I'm excited for it. it's just sad because we know that means that we're getting closer to it all being over.
Mm-hmm. But it's quite a ride we've had with Stig in AEW.
Yeah.
He's just jumping off of things, crazy things, sir. Like sometimes makes me worried, but
It's been so bittersweet because like I saw Sting for the first time through TNA. So I grew up watching TNA on Spike and I loved Sting. And he comes to WWE and I'm not happy, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how they handled it like at all. And it's kind of like, damn, like, oh, I hate that Sting. And this is his legacy. This is how this ends. And AEW giving him that last call, like, that call to like, no, let's go out on your terms. And it's been booked beautifully. It's everything that should have happened. And, it's bittersweet. But like, I have to remind myself, we're getting more time than we ever thought we could have in the first place. And so like, we're just lucky. Like we're all just so fortunate. And it's one of those times where as a wrestling fan, like it's a really great payoff for people who have been fans for a long time. And, I just try to remember to be blessed rather than sad. But I know for a fact we are all going to be crying buckets in Greensboro.
Oh my god! I hope they need to hand out like little tissues right at the door.
Just pass them down the road. Yeah.
When they scan your ticket, just here's your packet of tissues.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, quickly, let's touching on TNA. How do you have any feelings about TNA's rebranding into TNA? A lot is happening over in TNA, but
so I don't watch TNA that much, but I did. I watched Hard to Kill. I think that the rebranding to TNA was great until they fired their Scott D'Amore. So now I have no idea what's going on. I thought everything was going good. I guess not. I have no idea what's going on now.
It's wild. There's not a day that goes by in wrestling where something isn't life-changing.
And this year has been nuts. Like you wake up, it's like you take. That's how I found out. I was napping when the Okada news dropped originally. I woke up. I said, "Oh my god!" I couldn't watch wrestling for a whole weekend. I had to literally. I was staring at the ceiling, like I didn't know what to do with myself. Like I literally could not function.
Yeah, it's something new. I literally I was working, I took a break, everything was normal. I looked back at my phone 45 minutes later, sneaking my phone in the bathroom, and I was like, Scott D'Amore's gone. Like, things just happen so quickly in wrestling. We need to breathe. Yeah. But it's not us over here in AEW this time. We are just vibing.
For the first time, hey, and I just gotta, these are the times where it's just like, I might not understand it, but let me just mind my business.
Truly. It's wild, it's crazy. But it's a lot. Take your time, by the way. Just take your time for yourself, wrestling fans. Step away. It's okay. Watch what you want to watch. Who should we watch out for in 2024? Like, who do you think is going to have a great year? It's still in the beginning of the year.
There's a lot of people. I'm going to go with one man and one woman. For the man, I think everybody should keep an eye on Kevin Knight in New Japan and TNA right now. Mm-hmm. He's a star, athletic, like incredibly athletic. The stuff that he does is just not real. And every time he goes to Japan and he does another tour, like the people are all in on him. I just think like he just needs that one breakout match, like with the right person. And I think his entire life is going to change. Like, and for women, I think that people should watch out for Trish Adora this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Trish Adora is just, she's like almost put it all together as far as being the total package. And I think that this year is going to be that year that she does put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she's just a star waiting to happen, a mega star. And so,
Trish Adora, she's right on that brink. She's got, Ring of Honor, and she's training in New Japan. The infantry, I think, is really good for her.
Yeah, I think her and Kevin Knight are very similar in that way of just people who they're just literally at the cusp of becoming like superstars. So those are the people I think you should watch out for.
We'll see. We'll see. And we'll see at the end of the year if this came to fruition. But I feel pretty good about your decision.
Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap it up, I'm going to play a fun little game with you. Al yeah or al nah. And it's basically if you think it's cool, if you like it, al yeah. If it's not, it's an al nah. It's gonna have a fun little time. If you want to elaborate more, you can, but you don't have to. My screen is being slow. I can edit this one. But there we go. Our first al yeah or al nah. Big business.
Al hell yeah.
I mean, also this graphic is just they're not. Who are they trying to fool?
Oh, they ain't that.
It's a Valentine's. How do you feel about romantic storylines?
You know what? I'm actually going to say oh yeah on this, just because I think that, moving them to Rampage has just been a great call. It's something cute for, after 10. Like, it's fun. It's fun. Like, I feel like everybody's been playing their roles well. It's perfect for Rampage. So I'm going to go oh yeah on this.
Do you usually enjoy a romantic story?
I mean, I'm a Golden Lovers fan, aren't I?
That is the ultimate romance. Our EVPs, Nicholas and Matthew.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just a side note, how do we feel about these renders? The blood.
Listen, I'm so glad that it looks like they're not only are there. I'm glad it seems like they're having a good time again. And I feel like for a while, it didn't feel like they were having a good time. Yeah. Outside of the BCC elite stuff, like it doesn't seem like they were having a lot of fun. And so it seems like they're having fun with wrestling again. They're at their best on their heels. I'm a Young Bucks stan. I'm an elite stan. So
we're elite girlies. Yes. Heel Bucks, best Bucks.
Heel Bucks, best Bucks.
Call them by their passport names.
Government names. Matthew, Ron, John, and Nicholas Lee.
Ron John.
Announcements
of announcements.
Okay, how do I say this? So I'm gonna go.
You can be in the middle.
Because last year Tony was saying important announcements and it wasn't that important, but this year it's been worth it. So you know what? I'm gonna be like the rankings and start over for 2024. So because this year he started off strong.
He did, yes. A lot of stuff could have been emails last year.
Yes, but this was great.
This is great. Mustaches.
On him? Yes.
Not just Hangman, but mustaches.
See, now I can't comment on everybody because some of y'all mustaches just don't work for me. But on him, he is a perfect 10. He is a perfect 10. And also, I think like the elite do mustaches so well. Like it always helps their character.
You could tell by the facial hair what kind of era it's going to be for the
Absolutely. Elite. Always a thumbs up on the elite facial hair. Always.
Even Kenny's beard.
Yes.
That was a no for me.
Nothing about Kenny Omega would never ever be a no for me.
I love Kenny. That was a no for me. But he was going through it. It was a rough time.
Hey, I always love that too, because like you can always tell when they're unhinged because they start doing crazy shit to their facial hair. So I dig it.
Yes. Roderick Strong's mustache. Is that a no? Because I don't like that one.
I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's there, but it doesn't like. It doesn't make me feel like this,
Well, nothing
does.
Big man.
What a man.
Wrestling reality shows.
In general, yes. All Access wasn't my favorite, but I do think that with a different crop of people, I think it would slap. Like, I just watched Bianca and Montez's show, and I think it was fantastic. So,
Yeah.
like, I think that AEW All Access with a different range of characters could be
Mm-hmm.
great. And I didn't hate it, but it's just like, I think some people are great. Like, I think Ty was awesome. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah, I really liked it. Made me really like Sammy and Tay.
yeah.
And I hated saying it, but I really liked them. Britt was good. You know what, Bucks, we didn't need them.
And I think also it's just for us who are Bucks fans, I think maybe we were expecting more BTE type content, and it felt very sterile.
Yeah,
Like the
we were just
stuff that
dancing around the situation. We knew what was
yeah,
happening. We couldn't talk about it, so
the stuff that we were actually getting from the Bucks, I feel like it was
mm,
And the
yeah,
thing is, we know they're interesting people. It's just
this
yeah,
wasn't it. I want Private Party. I want Nyla. I want,
Nyla
you
would be
know,
great.
yes, I
Stokely
want
Hathaway.
Stokely.
I want Stokely Hathaway.
I'm gonna need it to stream on Max though, because I'm gonna need it to be uncensored if some of these people are on.
Well, I think that will happen though, because
It
I
has
think
to.
All Access is already on Max now. So
Yeah, I'm hoping for a season 2. I
yeah,
enjoyed it, but and then we do have the upcoming Johnny Loves Taya
I think that's gonna be.
scripted reality comedy.
I think that's gonna be cute. Yeah, I
That's
can.
that's, that's real good. Stables, not just the stable, but in general. How do you feel about a stable?
I'm big on stables. Huge stable girl.
Now we
Huge.
can talk about Undisputed Kingdom and how do you feel about them?
I feel like Undisputed Kingdom is the last remaining relic from the MJF era, and I feel that now that Dynamite is and just the AEW product has, for the most part, evolved past that it doesn't feel like it fits.
Yeah,
It
there
just
should have.
like it doesn't feel like it doesn't have the energy as everything else right now. Like it feels like it's still in that MJF verse,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like I don't know. And I think like the best way to fix that is through good wrestling. So hopefully Roddy versus Orange just blows us all away. But
This
yeah,
should be better. I feel like, but it's not.
because yeah, you got Adam Cole in a wheelchair. Wardlow just shows up. I think that the Kingdom and Roddy are doing their best, but I
Yeah,
think they're being weighed down by a lot of dead weight.
yeah. This should hit harder than it is, and it. Eh,
It's
nah.
the only thing right now that I don't love. I
Yeah.
love just about everything else that's happening on TV right now. But this and Jericho. Well, I'm not going to put them down with Jericho. Jericho
No,
is
no, that's a different level.
that's a whole different
This
level.
is
But yeah,
I would put this with like this is for me personally. This is only views of me. The Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal confusing Rampage segments.
yeah,
This is on that level of I don't know what we're doing.
yeah. And the thing is,
I
like,
can leave it.
at least Jared and stuff is on Rampage, but like this will be on Dynamite or Collision.
Yeah,
It's just like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The CMLL invasion.
Oh yeah. Give me a hell yeah, brother. Yeah. Hechicero has had Brian Danielson in hell. Brian Danielson has never been this shook off of another technical wrestler before.
Truly. I thought that man was gonna win last week.
I'm gonna be honest, like he's been in hell, and for him to like have to wrestle Zack Sabre Jr. right after that, it's like, oh my god, you're getting cooked, Dragon.
Yeah, things are not okay for him right now.
It's not okay.
He's having a rough time.
He's having a rough time.
He's
Like
really
he's getting cooked. Like I've never really seen Brian Danielson truly get out wrestled before, but Hechicero be having him in hell.
yeah. We've never seen him like this, and I don't. It's very weird. It's very odd.
But I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hechicero, I was like, oh wow, you're my new favorite
Mm-hmm.
wrestler.
Yeah, the entrance, the cleansing of the fire.
Fire? 10 out
Amazing.
of 10. No notes.
Iron Claw.
Oh yeah.
I'm still emotionally damaged all these months ago.
And made me cry. It made me cry a lot. But
so good.
it's a yeah.
And snubbed at the Oscars. Come on.
Yeah, I was not happy about that at all.
Mansplaining on Twitter. People in your mentions.
Laser.
Go outside. Touch some
No,
grass.
no, no, no.
Yeah, I think it's a no. Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day candy. This is love season.
I never had a Valentine, so I can't. I feel like if I say no, then I'm just being a hater. But I do like candy. I like
You can be a
Valentine's Day
hater.
candy. Yeah, I like Valentine's Day candy a lot.
And
So
especially with the next day when it's on clearance.
exactly. Oh yeah, to the candy.
Pineapple on pizza.
So I used to be an extreme hater of pineapple on pizza, but I've had it one time and it was super good. I forgot where I was, and it was like this. I forgot, but that pizza was great. So I'm gonna say it's not my typical topping, but I don't hate it. So let's go out.
What is your go-to pizza?
I'm typically a meat lovers person.
Okay.
A meat lovers person, or I would do I'll do like a sausage, bacon, spinach. Oh no, one thing I really love, I love a good buffalo chicken pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Like a good buffalo chicken pizza. Oh, I love it. And then there's this place here. It's called Zaz, and it's a special pizza. It's called the Divine, and it's like prosciutto, spinach, Gruyere cheese, feta, arugula, bruschetta. It sounds super fancy, and grilled chicken. It sounds super fancy, but it's actually super affordable. But it is so fantastic, and it's like at this local pizza shop here. But yeah, that's my go-to.
Nice. Deodorant. Please just wear it, guys. Go outside. If you're going outside, put deodorant on, right?
Wear that shit in the house too.
All the time.
Like even when I'm in the house, I'm wearing deodorant. Like it's just
Please.
because like, hello, y'all don't get like sweaty.
Please.
I digress.
Romantic comedies.
I love a good rom-com. Okay.
And what is your favorite rom-com?
I have so many.
I'm
Looking at this up here, like 10 Things I Hate About You is a classic for me. She's all that. I love in basketball. What else? I love Love Actually. I love Serendipity is one of my favorite movies. I have just so many. Oh my gosh. But yeah, because it's on here, I'm just gonna go with 10 Things I Hate About You because I've seen that movie a million times.
It's a great film.
A million times. And so I love it. I love it.
Yes. Horror movies.
It depends on what it is. Depends on what it is. Because like all horror movies are not created equal, And so the good ones, yes. But like a lot of this trashy stuff that people are just putting out, like, no, like
yeah.
Depends on what it is.
I hate being scared, but I will only watch Halloween. The Halloween franchise is my only one I enjoy.
I used to watch the Chucky movies a lot.
The Chucky TV show is actually pretty fun. I haven't watched it in a minute. But what I saw was pretty fun.
Is that the one where like he killed Liv Morgan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I only saw like the first part of the season 1, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know if this movie counts as a horror, but From Dusk Till Dawn is one of like my favorite wild movies, and like that one is a fucking gore fest.
Guess it'll count.
Yeah.
All right, and I think this might be my last one. But since you do host the Dynamite book, Mean Girls 2024, the musical adaptation, did you see it? Yes.
I have not seen it yet.
Oh, I know you're a musical theater.
Yes, I'm a musical theater girly, and here's the thing: I'm a huge Renee Rapp fan, so I do plan to see it, and I do have high hopes for it. And everybody that I've seen, that I know that has seen it, they do really like it, and so I'm going to keep my hopes up for this. And so And also, I have to remind myself that, like, just because they did a musical adaptation doesn't mean like it's going to be worse off, because that was how I feel about Legally Blonde. Like, Legally Blonde, the musical, might actually be better than Legally Blonde, the movie. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that lightly at all. But the musical is fully available on YouTube, the Legally Blonde musical. And when I say, like, they add songs to what was already perfect dialogue, and it's like, they ate that. Like, they really ate that. So I have the same hopes for Mean Girls. And like I said, I'm a Renee Rapp stan. So whatever she's a part of, I will be there.
Controversial opinion. Maybe because I'm an old millennial. It was fine. Not like I went in knowing fully well it was a musical. I just think it wasn't for me.
You know what? And the thing is, it might not be great. My thing is, like, the only person I'm really invested in here, like I said, is Renee Rapp. So if all of the Regina George scenes eat, that's fine for me. Yeah.
She did her thing, but I just think for me, meh.
You know what? And I think that's the difference between Mean Girls and other films, of just, you truly had to be there. Truly. Like, you truly had to be there to know, like, why all of those words, those moments, they all hit the way that they do. Like, that was a time. That was a time.
Yeah, I do hold it in my heart because that movie came out in my freshman year of high school. So, like I said, old millennial. So it does hold it, but I was like, went in like, this is a separate thing. I know this is a musical. I just don't think I was the audience for it. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it's for me. You'll probably love it, but I don't think it was for me.
Hey, I said I'm going to give it a chance, but, like,
I think you'll enjoy it, but I think for me,
yeah, we shall see. And also, I have no problem, even as a Gen Z person, like, I have no problem saying that, oh, the original was so much better, and, like, never watch the remake ever again. Like, that's happened to me numerous times, as I've seen things get made over from my childhood plenty of times. So, hey, if it's bad, I have no problems telling everybody it was bad. So.
See, I feel like I'm the weirdo, so you'll probably love it. Like, but that's it. That was Al yeah or Al nah. That was get to know you more. Yeah, we didn't even talk too much about musical theater, which is a shame. we need more time about Tony.
Listen, I have my musical theater Bible right next to me.
Literally, yes.
Barbara Streisand's new autobiography. So, hey,
have you read it already full through, or you want another read?
And the crazy thing is, like, I took this with me to Japan because I told myself I was going to start reading on the flight, and I just fell asleep. And I did it both times. And also, like, when I said Bible, I wasn't really exaggerating, because this is almost 1,000 pages.
She's had a life.
She really put her entire, look at her face. Like, she really put her entire life into this. And so, like, I had this book pre-ordered. And so, like, I need to actually sit down and, like, read. That's the thing about being busy these days too. Like, I almost wish that I put it on, like, a Kindle or something, but I don't have a Kindle. But yes, I could do musical theater all day. It's a whole nother episode.
Truly, yeah, we'll come back. But quickly, what is your favorite Barbara film?
Funny Girl.
There we go.
That's my favorite film, like, ever. When she looks into that mirror with that hat and the first line, sorry, her looking in the mirror, hello, gorgeous. Cinema.
That's the way to end it. I think we've chatted enough. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let everyone know where we can find you and watch you and read all of the words you write.
Yes. Thank you for having me. You can find me at Lyric Wrestling on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube at Lyric Swinton. Just my first and last name. And yeah, Maps and Graps is available on all podcast platforms, and it's also on my YouTube. So stay tuned. There's a lot of fun stuff going to be released. And I'm just super excited, especially filmed some stuff for Black History Month specifically. So super excited for everybody to be able to see it.
Yay! And on Wednesdays for Body Slams,
Yes,
Dynamite
and
book.
Wednesdays, myself and Denny Levingston, we host the Dynamite book on Wednesdays immediately after AEW Dynamite on Body Slam's YouTube. So come see us on Wednesdays.
Yes, hang out with her. She's killing it. Year 2, I think, is going to even be better for you.
I hope so.
Year 2, you making some money, a little bit of money, cash flow.
Yes, that's
we'll speak it into existence.
Amen.
Everybody's getting paid this year.
Yes.
But yes, guys, thanks for hanging out with me again. With Lyric, thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate it. Anytime you want to hang out, you're more than welcome. Talk about all things elite,
Yes.
everything, mustaches, whatever you want to talk about. Hangman. Yes, thanks guys for hanging out. Please don't forget Yeah Pod. You can find that on everything. Subscribe, like this video. Spotify, we're working on the Apple Music. But yes, tell your friends. Also, do not forget every Wednesday to hang out with me at Spokeasy in Tower to watch AEW Dynamite. Yeah, we're having a good time. Gears back. Let's go. Let's go. Bye.